Hello and welcome to episode 1099 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, September 16th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can't believe we've already almost done 100 episodes in the last 6 months.
I know, it's really insane. When I was typing this up yesterday, I was like, we're going to be at 1,100 this quick?
Yeah.
Dang.
Feels like we just did episode 1,000.
But it was actually at the beginning of the season. So we did 100 episodes basically in the season. Not bad. Not a bad haul. And the season's not over yet. In fact, coming down the stretch here, everyone's trying to secure their titles or get into title position. Lots going on for sure. We're going to spin it forward a little bit. We got a lot of stuff out there. Wrote a write-up every day, my SP chart for the here and now. But on the pod, want to talk a bit more about the future. And last time out, we discussed some pitchers having big second halves and how we feel about them going forward. So today, of course, we're going to talk hitters in the same realm here. These guys have been second half standouts. Now there's a range from, legitimate superstar level, third round type pick, all the way down to waiver fodder. In fact, I tried to avoid more of the top end guys. Like, I'm not going to ask you what you think of Aaron Judge. I'm not sure that has as much value.
He's okay.
Yeah, because
he's all right.
We did have upper tier guys last time too, like a Spencer Strider, but he's new to the upper tier. So if I was just flooding you with, Jose Ramirez and Aaron Judge and all that, is a waste of time. We do have one premium guy because he's doing so well at a specialty position that we'll get into. But then most of them are like mid rounders or later. In fact, way later in some instances. Let's talk with the superstar of the second half, the guy we're going to hear about winning people's leagues for sure. And that's Jake McCarthy, because the first half, league winner, so to speak, was probably John Birdie, because those steals were just so unbelievably impactful that I totally feel like, and he was a waiver pickup. So people were like, John Birdie winning me my league here in the first half. In the second half, it's been Jake McCarthy because he's one-upped Birdie. Birdie was just Mr. Speed. Jake McCarthy's doing everything, Justin. 335, 397, 494 slash here in the second half with 16 steals, leads the league by 4 over your boy, said the entertainer, and has chipped in 5 homers, 28 runs, 32 ribbies. Jake McCarthy's been an absolute god. While he is a Johnny-come-lately in that, we haven't really seen him do anything before. He debuted last year and, did 70 plate appearances. He's 24. He'll be age 25 next year. So I don't think this is something that's a flash in the pan that, we're not going to have any interest in him next year. Is Jake McCarthy, or he is skyrocketing his draft cost. I won't ask you if he is. I'll ask you to where is Jake McCarthy skyrocketing his cost?
Oh, man, that's going to be a tough question. I feel like some of what he's done, I think people know he's done great, right? I think some of what he's done has been hidden. He's in Arizona, which is not a very good team, though they've been really good here as of late.
Yeah, they're getting some attention, but there is a little bit of the West Coast thing. We've always talked about like West Coast bias or whatever. But even in the internet age, that still exists. That was something that was born more of the newspaper age. Newspapers had to go to print. You wouldn't even get West Coast scores in the paper and stuff like that. But there is still some of that, right? Because a lot of people live in the Central and East, and they don't stay up and watch Diamondback games. They should, because they're really exciting against right-handers. But I think a little bit of it is hidden. You're right. So if he wasn't on your team, you might not be, or on a team that's bypassing you in the standings, you might not be familiar with the exploits of Jake McCarthy. He wasn't a premium prospect. He ranked 25th on their list this year. So I guess, where are you at with buying these skills? He had an excellent run in AAA as well. It was only 36 games, but 5 homers, 11 steals in that time, 12% walk rate, 13% strikeout rate. So brilliant plate skills. That was a major improvement. He was a bit of a strikeout guy coming up, but he got 13% at AAA this year for McCarthy, down from 23% at AAA last year, and he's 20% at the majors. So how believable are these skills?
Not very. Some of it is believable. I think this is a little bit similar to Dylan Moore last year, which now better though, because Dylan Moore had serious platoon issues where McCarthy does not.
Well, and terrible plate skills.
Yeah. I just mean that the underlying numbers aren't nearly as good as I would expect from someone who's having this good of a second half. Like in the second half, he's got a league average zone contact, 12% swing strike rate, 34% O swing. Like those numbers are fine. They're not necessarily even bad, but like
most of those are about league average, right?
Yeah, about league average. So like
Okay.
I don't expect him to be a guy who can carry this over into a full season next year. I think he's probably like a 260 hitter with a bunch of stolen bases, a handful of home runs. Like I think he'd be fine. Like I think the stolen bases will prop him up. But what happens when the league is running wild because of the new rules? Like, is he a guy who goes from 20 stolen bases to 35 stolen bases? Potentially.
Yeah. I was gonna say when he run wilder.
Mm-hmm. The only other issue is Arizona's got talent, and they have more talent on the way, and not to mention they've got one of the like lower payrolls in baseball. So like they could add talent. So what happens if they start adding guys? They're not gonna like bench like Corbin Carroll, or Alec Thomas. Like these are guys that are gonna get.
That's two guys. There's the other spot there for McCarthy, right? But then what about Dalton Varsho? Does he go back behind the dish?
I don't think you can put him back behind the dish.
I don't think so either. Let me ask you this though: I don't know if you have it handy. I'm going to pull it up myself. If not, has he improved at all behind the dish this year, Dalton Varsho? Is there anything that they can maybe go with? Because that would be an answer there. And then you got full time for Jake McCarthy. But remember, Varsho was a dreadful catcher, and that's why he was going to be an outfielder, and it has been, but he has caught 175 innings this year. Kelly got hurt a few different times. I see minus 1.5 on the framing. Compare that to positive 1.6 for Carson Kelly. So that's a pretty big split, I would say. And it's minus 1.5 in 175 innings when Kelly got positive 1.6 in 650 innings. So that's probably not the answer. So is that your biggest concern then, playing time for Jake McCarthy?
Yeah, I think playing time ultimately may be the biggest problem. I mean, I think they're going to give him run like early on in the season, but what happens if we just see the other side of the coin? Because he's obviously been running hot. Like if we see him running cold early on, he could find himself out of a role in the way that Dylan Moore did.
362 BABIP here on the year for him too. And I don't know what it is in the second half. I got just the composite numbers here, but like it's probably higher if anything. It's certainly not lower.
His BABIP is 374 in the second half.
Okay, there you go. So right in 12 points higher than what his season mark is. So that's definitely a major help for a Jake McCarthy. I think the real thing that you're honing in on is like, we want to be excited because it's fun. He's been amazing, but we see players like this all the time. Half seasons, huge half seasons that are just their best work. Yeah, and so that's probably what we got here.
I think the question becomes, what is his draft price? Like if he pulls up into the top 150, I'm out. If he's outside the top 200, or maybe just inside the top 200,
I don't think he will be. I don't think he'll be outside the top 200. I really don't. I think you're talking top 250 or top 150.
Yeah, I can't do that. I don't think he's worth that. I think. I think the likeliness of the regression, because you have to, he wasn't a top prospect coming
out. That's what I was saying. 25th in there this year.
So it's not like it. I mean, and here's the thing: Corbin Carroll could bust. Alec Thomas could bust. I don't think they will, but they could bust, and he becomes the guy that takes over the full-time playing time if someone struggles, right? Like
sure, but I wouldn't bet on that in any way.
But yeah,
what do you make of this? This is down the stretch. This might just be a health protection type of thing. McCarthy's playing every day. Carroll and Thomas are decidedly not. Carroll's only started 2 games this week, or actually 1 this week, but 2 in the last 6 days, which ranges from Saturday to Thursday on roster resource. He's only started twice, and Thomas has only started thrice. But like I said, McCarthy every single day, left, right, center, and DH there. Plus, by the way, we didn't bring up DH. That would be another avenue there. I know a lot of teams don't use a perma DH, but if you got 4 guys like that who are all 26 and under, the 3 of whom are 25 and under in terms of McCarthy, Kelly, McCarthy, Carroll, and Thomas, maybe you make it work that way. But I'm with you. I think the caution that you're preaching, because the price is going to likely be high, and the fact that we've seen just like a half season here, tap the brakes. I wouldn't just, it's going to be that dangerous extrapolation zone too. He's going to end with about what? How many games we got left? Like 15. So he's going to have about 100. You can't double it, but you get, people will start doing those lazy double ups there, and that can really lead you astray with somebody like Jake McCarthy.
I think I would probably project him for like 400 plate appearances, which, I mean, he could still be a 10-20 guy next year with a lower batting average, but like, so that's fine. But and it's good, but like, is it top 200 kid? I don't know. I think that's debatable. And if I want to see what the prices are on him coming into next year. I think he's one of those guys, like I said though at the beginning, that may not get as much publicity as some of the other guys because he plays in Arizona, which is a West Coast team that's pretty bad.
Yeah, a lower tier team there. Yeah, if people are watching West Coast, they're probably checking out the Dodgers, the Padres, and maybe really that's it right now because your Giants aren't having a great season. All the people still watch them. They're still very popular. So I would still say that they're getting watched more than the exciting baby snakes out there. So that's Jake McCarthy. Let's move on to another speedster. Now, he's more of a raw speedster, and that's really the only thing that you're getting from – well, actually, I shouldn't say that about Bubba Thompson because he has been hitting, but it's been unexpected. He has a 95 WRC plus on the season, but lately he's actually been having some pretty decent at-bats. I still look at the 30% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate, and I'm going all speed here. This is a rabbit burner. You know how I feel about drafting them. How'd Miles Straw do this year, by the way? But I do think Bubba Thompson is somebody who will be cheap. I don't really think that he's raising his price to anything all that substantial. I think he's a 250 or later type pick. So given that, what would you think about a Bubba Thompson pickup? Or what do you think about him next year as far as what he's been showing us as a burner here for the Rangers?
I think they're going to give him some run, especially early on. Like you said, like I don't buy the underlying skills at all. Like I mean, he's fast. He's always been fast. He can steal bases, but this is he's not like a Billy Hamilton style burner. And he doesn't play like amazing defense that would give him an opportunity to play in a way like that Adam Engel gets to or Billy Hamilton got to and things like that, in spite of the fact that he's not not going to hit. I mean, we're talking about a guy, I know he's been hot right now, and he's hitting, 3-something? Or no, 278 this year.
But like in the second half, it is like 3-something, I think.
Didn't he get called up in the second half?
It is. Sorry, it is. Everything has been in the second half. So the 278, 331, 339 for Bubba Thompson. But a 95 WRC plus is honestly about 20 points higher than I was expecting when I picked him up. I was just picking him up for the steals. So
which is the right call.
Yeah. So the fact that he hasn't been embarrassing at the dish has helped. But guess what? 408 BABIP. That ain't holding for Bubba Thompson. So he'll be dirt cheap though.
His XBA right now is like let me find it.
082.
182.
Oh my God, I was trying to be funny.
Yeah, it's 182. So it is over 100 points. 278
almost 100 points, right?
Oh, sorry, almost 100 points. Yeah, so 278, 182, almost 100 points that he's just getting lucky on. Like, now part of that is like he is fast. So like, and he's got a really low launch angle. He's got like a 6-degree launch angle. So he puts the ball on the ground a lot. He's gonna outrun things sometimes because he's fast, but it's just unsustainable.
Billy Hamilton, like you said, even faster. He could never maintain a 400 BABIP. So Bubba Thompson, that 408 is coming down.
Yeah.
The thing that I would be pleased with if I draft him, if I wind up with him anywhere, which I almost certainly won't, just give me a 300 OBP. If you could just get on base at a 300 OBP, I feel like I can get something. The problem is I just don't think that's a guarantee. He strikes out way too much. He doesn't take walks.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there was a little bit of punch in the minors, 13 homers. I mean, that's PCL. AAA. Round Rock's diamond is not particularly special, but the other parks in the PCL are. 16 homers at AA the year before. I don't know if any of that's coming to the major leagues though at this point for Bubba Thompson. Like you said, bad fielder, got a 45 grade in our last scouting report for Bubba Thompson. So this one's been, hey, thank you for everything you've done this year.
Yeah.
I don't really see myself getting him anywhere next year unless it's off the waiver wire again.
Yeah. I think he's one of those guys that you pick up off the waiver. He's going to get drafted though. Like I said, I don't know
that
he's
going
to be,
and then I'll get him when he gets cut.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be super expensive or anything. I think, like you mentioned, the plate skills, which is so bad. Okay, so league average zone contact this year is 85.4%. His zone contact is 78%. League average O swing is 32%. He's swinging outside.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, you had it. Sorry.
Yeah, he's swinging outside of the zone 35% of the time. Like league average swing strike rate is 11%. His Bubba Thompson swing and strike rate 15%. Like it is just not good. Like we don't, and he swings a lot. Like he's the league average. Hacking, zone swing rate is 69%, which is nice. What's not nice when you have that bad of poor of contact skills is swinging inside of the zone 77% of the time. So like it's just a really, really bad combination. I agree. If he changed his plate approach, which he's not going to do right now while he's hot.
No.
But if he changed his plate approach and got more patient, I could be a little bit more interested. Like if he could find, first base because of the walk, then I might be a little bit more interested long term.
But it's hard to expect that. And all the swinging stuff that you brought up carried throughout the minors too. You look at those strike rates and swinging strike rates.
Yeah. And one of the hard parts, for those people who only play redraft leagues and have never really delved into dynasty or keepers, Bubba Thompson used to be a top prospect. Like he used to be a top, 50, 100 guy because there was this power speed profile that was really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. But the lack of contact skills for Thompson is what kind of crushed. I mean, he got to the point where I didn't know that they were going to keep him on the formula. I thought he was going to get DFA'd earlier this year. But there are people who've been playing a long time that remember the name, that still think that he could, and now he's come up and been good. So he's not going to be free. He'll be cheaper maybe than McCarthy, but he's not going to be free at all.
I think that's a fair way to put it with Bubba Thompson. I recommend passing pretty much universally here.
Yeah.
All right, on to the superstar that I hinted at earlier. It is JT Realmuto. And my goodness, is he on fire, having a brilliant second half, reminding everybody why he went so high, reminding those that drafted him, not that they need reminders. Usually those that draft him are pretty big JT Realmuto fanboys, and I respect it. I mean, he's wonderful. I know Rob DiPietro is a big fan. I know Toby from Bat Flip Crazy, huge fan of JT Realmuto. Had 8 homers, 12 steals in the first half with a 252, 323, 330, or 399 slug. The slug was down. That was kind of a problem, but 8 and 12 in the first half from your premium catcher, you're in the 252. That was fine. Nobody was upset with that. He was just kind of humming along at a solid rate. Next level in the second half. In about half as much time, he has 10 homers, so 2 more than he had in the first half, and he has 5 steals to the 12 he had in the first half. So, you could double that and say he's pretty close to his pace, but the power pace is off the charts. 312, 385, 604 in the second half. My main question is, does Realmuto's price go up next year, or does it stay about the same, which I believe was pretty much firm third round for JT Realmuto? Where's he going next year?
That's a really good question. I think it's probably going to stay the same because there's been so many catchers that have emerged around him.
Very early fourth round was his ADP, 48.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it going into the third, but there's so many other catchers that have emerged this year that it's not the barren wasteland that it has been in the past. Now, when I did my 3-sport draft for next year, it was back in July, August.
He wasn't fully cooking yet.
He wasn't fully cooking yet, but he was the third catcher off the board.
Yeah. See, and like he'll be the first catcher now. He never really falls beyond like that third range. He is the number one catcher on the season, of course. You got Varsho. You got both Contrerases, the Contrari, if you will. Alejandro Kirk. Sean Murphy's been great. Varsho was number 2, by the way, but of course he was already hyped up for this year. Cal Raleigh has been a home run machine. Obviously, Adley broke out as expected. MJ Melendez was very good. He was the 12th catcher. Jonah Heim, guys like Jose Trevino even did some big things. Tyler Stevenson was great in the time that he had. Injuries just kept eating him alive until they finally took him off the field for the whole season. And that doesn't even count the fact that Keibert Ruiz, people are going to redraft him. He did not have a great season, but I don't think it's going to push everybody off of the Keibert Ruiz train. So
for sure.
You're right. The depth at catcher will make it so that Real Muto probably doesn't shoot up over that 48 ADP that he had this year, but I think he's going to firmly hold it at the very least.
Yeah. And I'm here for that.
I'll play that.
Yeah. When you're getting pretty much a 2020 season from a catcher,
that's crazy.
He probably should be a second rounder. And I actually don't have an issue taking him there.
Toby and Rob probably will. Not have an issue. They'll probably do it. Again, those are two of his biggest fans of in terms of folks in the industry. They love that rock solid production that they get at catcher. And how could you not, especially with the speed, man? It's just so nice.
Obviously it depends on what format league you're playing in, right? Like if you're in a one catcher league, you're not taking a catcher that early. I don't care who it is, right?
Yes. This is 2C leagues.
In a 2 catcher 15 team league, I have no problem popping Real Muto like at the 2-3 turn if I had an early pick. But if I'm in a 12 team league, then I think I'm probably passing and waiting for one of the later guys. So I think it just really depends on the depth of your league and what you're looking at you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it with Real Muto. Just want to give him some shine, though. He's been amazing and another guy who, if you call him a league winner, it's expected, right? He's expected to be a part of your winning league, but he is definitely turned it up to the point where if you were a mid-tier team and you landed on, you had Real Muto and then you landed on like a Jake McCarthy, those two alone could be kind of dragging your offense up the rankings. Or maybe you had this guy too, Eugenio Suarez, a veteran who is absolutely crushing. Remember when they were both traded, he and Jesse Winker to Seattle, we highlighted how that park was obviously a massive downgrade. It took Winker off my board, legitimately. I refused to draft him. But Suarez was somebody with big boy power that plays anywhere that I wasn't necessarily out on him. Plus, he was pretty cheap, too. So it was pretty easy to be like, oh, I would take Suarez if the price was right, and it definitely was. He's been awesome. He's bounced back. He was picked 200 on average. And you got 31 homers for that so far with a 236, 335, 472, 84 ribbies, and 71 runs. Now, right now, he's right around almost the exact same volume that he had last year, 145 games last year, 141 this year. So it's the same amount of homers, same amount of ribbies, and five extra ribbies. But the big difference is he hit 198 last year to the 236 this year. And, of course, still has another 2 weeks left to tack onto it. Suarez will be 31 next year. He'll still be with Seattle unless they trade him because they have a long-term contract. Is Suarez somebody you see rising up the ranks from his pick 200, say, into like the early 100s?
Ooh, early 100s. That would be a pretty big jump. And if that happens, I'm definitely out. Here's the thing, like Suarez is going to do what he does. He'll
give you some power.
He's got that unique, it's not super unique, but a unique blend of a really good batting eye and really bad plate skills. It's honestly, it's Joey Gallo-esque, right? He's going to walk at a double digit rate, but he's also going to make very little contact in the zone in spite of the fact that he swings a fair amount in the zone.
He's up there hacking.
Yeah. So, like, yes, this is like he has the ability to, go, hit 240 or maybe, in a lucky year hit 250 with a boatload of home runs. He also has the ability to do what we've seen in the past, which is have just a truly atrocious season.
Just last year, 198. I mean, that hurt you, right? Like the 31 homers, 79 ribbies, 71 runs. That was not enough to counterbalance a 198 last year. So he did not, Suarez did not bring home value last year, not only in a fantasy world, but even in a real life world. He was worth minus 0.1 WAR, which is just about even, but still, he played all season and he was league average. Not even like he was replacement level. That's bad. So I'm with you on Suarez. I think the risk is still too high that if he does go in that range, I was looking at Max Muncy, who was the 12th third baseman off the board at pick 131 with all the questions that he had. And I was thinking that that's probably about the area that Suarez could rise to. I think that'll be like more his min, but I think he'll live, Justin, in like the 145 to like 180 range. I do think he's going to move up from pick 200.
And I think, he should move up from pick 200. And I don't think it's a bad like spot, especially as we start to talk about like, hey, if stolen base numbers are up, are we then not getting as much like power emerging at the bottom that we used to, like, right? Maybe these guys are a little bit more valuable than they had been in years past. Now, I prefer a guy with better contact ability. Like, I don't want to sink my batting average. But if he's going around 180, like, that's a fine price. Like, I just think he's gonna go much higher because now people are gonna go, well, he's back.
That's what I'm saying. I do think that there'll be a lot of picks up there. 140, 180 is where the ADP will live, but I think the peak's gonna be that early 100s range. Let me ask you this: Brandon Drury or Eugenio Suarez? Drury had an excellent season. He's got legit power.
For Drury, it all depends on where he ends up.
I know.
Like, if he ended up back on a team where I go, he's got full-time, like, he's going to sign probably a multi-year deal, I would think, right?
Put him back in San Diego.
Okay. That's the worst possible.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Like, who would you take then if he goes back there? It's a good team, but he's not necessarily playing every day.
Yeah. Well, he'll play every day for the first 48 games or however many games Tatis is suspended for. But as soon as Tatis is back, he's going to be one of the guys who ends up being in a rotation.
But at least he can go everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, he can
bounce. He's eligible everywhere.
Well, yeah.
One of the things that Suarez is losing was he was eligible at shortstop and third base. Now he's only eligible at third.
That's
so key. I want to take Drury. The plate skills are better. I know there isn't much of a track record, but he was a former top prospect.
Big time prospect. He's shown power spikes before. It is a late career, 29 years old is a late bloom, but I tend to believe in it. Is there anything in Drury's profile while we're here? He's not necessarily a second half standout, but since we're comparing him to Suarez, is there anything in his profile that gives you pause that this was a fraud?
That it's like a complete fraud? No. Like, he's got the opposite plate skills of Eugenio Suarez. Like, he's got an 8% swinging strike rate, an 89% zone contact rate. He's not as aggressive in the zone.
Take any walks.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say any. 7% on the year, but only 4% with San Diego.
Yeah, previous like MLB seasons, like he was at 3, 4, 5%. Like, this is a high for him in terms of walk rate.
Yeah.
So like Drury, like I said, like it all depends on where he ends up. Like it really does. Like it. If he was to end up like on any team that gives him a 2 or 3 year deal, you would have to assume, hey, he's at least getting an opportunity to play full time. If he signs like a 1 year pillow deal, like a prove it deal type thing, then you start going, okay, they're not tied to him. Like, if he struggles, he's gone.
He's done. If he goes back to the Drury pre-2022, poof, there goes the playing time for Drury. So I agree with you there that duration of contract and where that contract is signed are going to be key factors for him. I do think he and Suarez are going to be pretty close in ADP, though, so I figured it was a pretty decent comp. Let's move on to Seth Brown. This was a guy I quite liked coming into the year, especially in DCs. Figured he'd play all year. Sneaky little speed potential at first base / outfield as well for a power guy. He's kind of one of those all or nothing, low average, big power guys, but throws in some steals. Was 4 for 5 last year on the bases. This year, 8 for 9, and does have 22 homers, 232 average, which is actually better than I thought it would be. 297 OBP still really gets me. Sub 300 OBPs are so ugly, and a 445 slug, but Seth Breezy has been excellent in the second half, so that's why he made this list. 12 of those homers, only one of those steals, but of course, if you're hitting round trippers, you don't need to steal. 261, 345, 535 slash line for Seth Brown. So can he build on this, or is this just a hot streak for Brown, and he'll go back to his all or nothing sort of overall profile next year?
This is a really interesting. I feel like this is a really negative episode that we're doing, because every time you throw me a guy, like, I start going, this is exactly why I'm not interested.
Hey, we were super positive on a lot of those pitchers, so sorry. Some of these hitters are just not necessarily.
I'm going to end your work week with some negativity, but I'm actually pretty impressed with Brown. Especially his improvements in the second half. He's making more contact in the zone. He's become more aggressive in the zone. He's kind of doing everything he should be doing. His XBA on the year is almost 20 points higher than his batting average. Like he's been unlucky.
Yeah.
So like you kind of start to believe, the second half 261 average when you're looking at a guy who, has a 254 XBA on the year. So yeah, I think he can. The problem is he does not walk. And he plays for a team that values on base percentage. Now, the beauty of playing for Oakland is that Seth Brown has zero competition, and likely will have zero competition next year.
Especially because he can go first or outfield. He has the duel to make sure that he's kind of staying in the lineup.
And I don't think he's going to be expensive at all.
No.
So, yeah, I kind of like Seth Brown as like a post 200 guy that he's not going to win you your league by any stretch of the imagination, but he should return value on what you pay for him. So yeah, Seth Brown's fine. I'm honestly a little surprised. I drafted a few shares of Seth Brown in some DCs, and he's been great. He's been playing every day. He hasn't really missed time this year.
No.
And one of his biggest issues, I think, is his platoons. I've got to double check. Yeah, he's hitting 167 against lefties.
Yeah.
So that's obviously going to limit his upside a little bit. But especially if you can, look ahead at the schedule, play the matchups. He's, hitting 245 against righties this year with 19 home runs. You're getting a lot of that goodness against righties, and especially in your deeper leagues, it makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree on Seth Brown. And like I said, even throws in some steals at first base, which is always nice. And I don't think he'll get another 8 next year. I wouldn't project him for that, but give me another 4. Although that 4 came in 307 plate appearances. So I would project more of like a 6.
And again, we're going to be in a situation where we think that stolen base numbers are going to go up. So I probably would project 8.
You guys talked about this on an episode with the rule changes, but that's because the bases are going to be bigger. And it will give an opportunity to maybe run more. I do think we'll see shifts with certain teams.
Combined with the fact that pitchers can only step off twice.
Yes. Multiple factors there. That's a great call. And the pitch clock itself, just multiple factors that are encouraging a potential running game influx, which could be great. And Seth Brown, interestingly enough, could take advantage of that. Here's one that I'm really excited about. Jose Miranda. When he first came up, things were not going particularly well. Was probably cut in a lot of leagues. I think he was sent back down. Maybe not. Maybe he wasn't sent back down, but
he was for a minute.
Okay.
It was right at the time of the Sano injury. So it's like a super quick moment. Yeah.
He got to come up before the 10 days. Okay. But his May was dreadful. So I understand why people cut him. You take a shot with a rookie, and if it doesn't work, you move on. And sometimes they pop for somebody else. That's exactly what happened here. 176, 208, 324 in May with a couple homers. I imagine a lot of people couldn't wait. They got to move on. Like I said, I get it. What are you getting out of this guy? Is he even going to hold his job? Well, he is, and he's going to be one of the best second half hitters as well. He's at 297, 371, 456 in the second half with 7 homers, 31 ribbies, 22 runs, and a chip-in steal in 205 plate appearances for Jose Miranda. Playing time shouldn't be any sort of issue with the Twins. He's one of their top prospects. Obviously, he's graduated this year. He's got playing time. He's in the middle of the order. I think he will be next year too, even if they add a guy or two. What do you think of Jose Miranda? Do you believe in this breakout? I will say the one comp I see here on his page that's really interesting to me. Miranda's doing the Ty France dance as a positionless masher whose hit power combination outweighs his aggressive approach. That's such a perfect comp. So are you interested in Minnesota's Ty France?
Yes, because I don't think he's going to be super expensive. I think he is going to be a guy that people kind of either forget about or undervalue, but the contact skills are really good. And we know that there is power in the profile that I just don't think he's shown enough of yet. I think he's like a star? No, but these are the kind of guys that I think are going to have kind of sneaky value. If stolen bases are going up and people are still trying to hit bombs, like the one thing that could suffer is batting average.
Yes.
And I want to get a guy late, post 150 picks that can help me in the batting average. And I think Miranda is one of those guys. Like, I think he's a better version of Yandy Diaz. Like, he's a guy that he's probably not going to be a 30 home run hitter. I think he'll probably hit like low 20s. But Ty France is a really good example. Like, I don't think like he's ever going to.
Yeah, I think that's actually like it's such a perfect comp. I like what you're saying with Yandy though too, because we keep saying like lift the ball, and he kind of like he's not a bad player, Yandy Diaz, but he's not a great fantasy player. Miranda's definitely better than that, and that next level does seem to be a Ty France type. So that's kind of a perfect comp there for Jose Miranda. And I agree with you that I don't think his price is really going to be through the roof. I think it'll be perfectly fair. He does have first, third eligibility, which helps. And we talked about how third wasn't great this year. Not a whole lot of strides in the position during the season.
It's gotten better, but it hasn't gotten great or anything. Like it's still the weakest, I think, of the infield positions.
And a lot of the breakouts. There's some questions, right? The two that we just talked about, Drury and Suarez. Will Matt Chapman hold? Is Luis Ariz somebody you want to put in your build? Probably put him at second anyway. Josh Rojas. So yeah, I like Miranda though. I'm really intrigued by him, and that team is going to be good again next year, I believe. Quick aside: do you think Correa sticks with them, or does he opt out? He wasn't like amazing this year.
To be honest, I think it depends on what he does in the playoffs. Like,
that's a good point.
If he has a big, like, on the big stage playoff game or two, like, then probably. But there's also the problem that there's other shortstops coming out in this. We got Trey, we got Dansby.
That's right. Dansby off his huge breakup. By the way, I said he hasn't been that great. He has been, actually. Carlos Correa has been amazing. He has a 139 OPS plus 21 homers. It's just a little fantasy dry though, because
it's very well. He's been fantasy dry for years. Like
that's the tough part, right? It's a good batting average and solid pop, but neither the runs nor ribbies are off the charts. He only played 510 plate appearances because he did miss some time. 0 steals. He has 1 steal since 2019. Justin,
one stolen base attempt. Yeah, like it's not just one. Yeah, it's like 1 stolen base attempt in that time. Like
But I didn't want to short shrift him. Well, 140 WRC plus, 130, whatever I said, 139 OPS plus. So they're pretty much in lockstep. That is excellent. But fantasy wise, it comes up a little bit lighter there to the point where actually I'm going to have you guess. Where's Carlos Correa on the Razzball shortstop player rater?
I bet you he's like 13th.
You oversold it by a lot. He's 20th.
Yeah. So remember when people are yelling at me for ranking him like 15th at shortstop? Like
I do remember that, and I didn't have him particularly high either because as I kept going, and it wasn't that I didn't like him; it was the position.
Yeah, the position is so deep. I also ranked Corey Seager that low, so I understand why maybe people were yelling at me.
1 up, 1 down. But hey, I had them 13, 14. Where'd you have them?
I think just a little. I think 15, 16 would be my guess.
So I mean, the depth there, what was tough to figure. I had Turner, Bichette, Lindor, Bogey, Semien, Anderson, Story, Baez, Vomit, Polanco, Witt Jr., and Franco and Adames ahead of those two. But there was a huge glob, right? There was a huge glob at shortstop where if you wanted Correa, Seager over Adames,
I had him 20th. I had Correa 20th and Seager 17th.
You should go back in the comments. Now, don't bring up the Seager one because they'll roast you on that one. But say, hey, Who's crying about my Correa ranking now? He is 20th. You nailed it. So good job on that one. I actually am pretty surprised that he is 20th behind Nico Horner, Josh Rojas, Gleyber Torres, Thairo Estrada, by the way. We'll have some time to talk about him at some point in the offseason. Excellent year by Thairo Estrada. But let's move on to Adolis Garcia. I think Adolis Garcia is going to cause some people to make some mistakes next year because they're going to think, oh my God, how did I miss on this guy? I'm going to get in this year. I got to be honest. I think the process was still right to fade him. And I was pretty impressed that the market essentially did because of those plate skills. The one thing that he had was playing time because he's an elite center fielder. But the question was, 31% K, 5% walk. Can he go 31-16 again? Well, the answer was indeed no, but that's because he's gone 25-24 with a 253, 302, 463 line, which is actually pretty good, netting a 115 WRC plus, but still 28% K, so only 3 points shaved off of that, and only 1 point added to the walk rate. He's going to be 30 next year. Justin, I got to be honest, I'm still a full fade on Adolis Garcia because his price will go up from the 171 main event ADP that he had, and there's no universe where I'm paying it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I will say, like, some of the contact skills have gotten better in the second half, but they're still way below average. And this is Carlos Gomez reincarnated.
That's exactly the name I've been using. 100, and that's what I said about him. Late career Gomez though too, not the peak Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
The late career one that really agitated us because we draft him and then you never knew what you were getting, and then as soon as you cut him, you go on a 3-week burner type of deal. But yeah, for Adolis in the second half, by the way, 10 homers, 11 steals, 280, 336, 505. So an excellent second half line, but still 26% K, 7% walk. So only a little bit better than his season marks there for Adolis.
Mm-hmm.
At age 30 though. I don't think he's really in major danger of losing playing time because, like I said, premium defender, out in center field there, and so that will help him keep the playing time. But man, like I said, that ADP is going to go up. Justin, he's going to be inside the top 100, I think.
Oh, I think he's probably going to be higher than that. I think 2 seasons in a row of doing this, like I think there are going to be people taking the top 50. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's a 2020 plus guy. Adolis is like for the second year in a row, and he didn't hurt your batting average this year.
No, because he improved there, 253. I mean, even the 243 last year wasn't killer, so that is true. Like he's been able to put up 2 decent batting averages, and so like we're saying all these positive things. People are like, well, then why are you guys fading him? It's because the tenuousness of it. The simple fact is, if that BABIP goes down at all from the 306, 312 of the last 2 years, if the Ks go up a little bit more, I mean, we're talking about somebody who is going to crater. The downside here is massive with that. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not willing to take it.
He's got Javi Baez plate skills.
Javi Baez written all over him. Carlos Gomez, like you said, is a great comp too. So that's the fear here, is that he doesn't he doesn't maintain this 250s, 240s batting average type. He hits under Mendoza line. He might still get you the homers and steals because he will probably play a ton for Adolis Garcia, but he could come at quite a cost to your batting average, and I'm not willing to pay that.
That being said, like if because I think a lot of people are going to talk like this. I think some people are going to ignore what's staring us all right in the face on Adolis, but I think there are going to be people that push back on him being drafted highly. So like there's a chance the market is smart again, and he'll definitely go up. But like if he's like just inside the top 150, I got no problem with that. Like he's
moving up way more than 20 picks.
But I think he is too.
There will be pockets of people with what you're saying, but only pockets. I'm seeing more. It's anecdotal. I haven't talked to a billion people yet or anything, but I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing, hey, I missed. I'm not going to miss on him again. I'm moving him up type deal. I'm like, you didn't miss. Your process was right, but he hit hard again. By the way, I said 171 ADP. That was all NFBC drafts together. His main event was 203. So in the main event, the market was like pretty sharp on a guy here that had major crater ability. and he popped. And so, just because that happened, though, doesn't mean the process was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's move to the complete opposite end of the spectrum in terms of player type here and hit the Kwon with Steven Kwon. Remember when he was the flavor of the first week or two?
Mm-hmm.
And then he went in a bit of a lull, and Luis Arraez kind of took up the mantle there, since they're literally the same player. And now Arraez has passed the baton back to Kwon, who's having a wonderful second half. 300, 373, 401, even chipped in 3 homers in the second half here, 10 steals, an equal strikeout to walk ratio at 11% for each. How good is Kwon? Is he going to be next year's Miles Straw, meaning overdrafted and wildly disappointing? Or has he got more staying power where he is Luis Arraez and you can buy into that batting average completely and you're going to get your double-digit steals? Where are you at on Steven Kwon after a big second half?
Oh, man. I mean, I think he is a legit good hitter. And because he can walk at a double-digit rate and because he makes so much contact, I think he's going to be fine. The hard part is he is kind of up there swinging a wet noodle.
Which surprises me about the walk rate situation. Usually guys get the bat knocked out of their hand because they're like, here, I dare you to try to hit. You're not taking a walk on me, but he has a 10% rate. Like I said, 11% in the second half for Kwon. That's been impressive, but you're worried that it might not hold.
He has got an elite zone contact skill.
It's unreal.
Look, I mean, you're talking about a 95.6 zone contact. And he just does not swing outside of the zone. He is going to. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like, if there were robo umps, he would just crush everyone. Didn't
it take 3 weeks for Kwon to swing through a pitch?
I think so.
Something like that. I forget exactly the time, but it took a long time for him to actually have a swing and miss pitch. Okay, so I won't make you guess this time. I'll tell you, he's the 38th outfielder on the season, which isn't too bad.
That's pretty darn good for a guy who was free.
For a guy who is a hard negative in a category, the power category, or the home run category. What can he do though next year? I guess my biggest question is, or not even my biggest question, my biggest issue is he's such a team build specific player, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I've said this before, I know we disagree here. You'll take these guys on the fly and adjust, but I think you need to plan to take a Steven Kwon. I think you need to plan to take a Miles Straw type rabbit. Now Kwon is not that total rabbit. He is 15 for 20 on the bases. He's not burning up the bases. You'll take 15 steals. But is there enough fantasy juice here outside the average for you to want him? Because yes, he's 38th in raw value, but sometimes those can be misleading because on a team construct where you fell into in our main here, like with Brian Reynolds and Alex Verdugo and all that, if you get Kwon and a couple other guys like that, you're way behind in power. So if you take Kwon, don't you have to forego every other type that's like that, Verdugo type and Kwon type?
I think you're right. I want to find the next one.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay a top 150 price on the actual Steven Kwon. I want to find the next guy, a Brandon Nimmo kind of guy at the bottom of the draft that I think can do the same type of thing. Obviously, he may not. For you.
Sorry, quickly. Teammate Tyler Freeman. What do you think of him? You're a big prospect dynasty guy. Cleveland teammate Tyler Freeman could be the next Kwon, yeah?
I mean, there's always going to be this kind of guy that, hey, he doesn't have much to him, but he can just hit. He can just hit.
Homie just hits, man. Kwon really does just flat out hit.
And so, I don't want to. People are going to drop top 150 prices on Kwon. I'm not.
No. Me neither. And that's the thing. Find the next version of this guy. We will stay in Cleveland, though. We will not talk Tyler Freeman, but we will talk Oscar Gonzalez. Again, shifting player profiles here. We're going to another power guy. He has 7 homers in the second half, but hitting 307, 346, 523 along with it. Really excellent slash line there for Oscar Gonzalez. That's worth a 144 WRC plus. Remember how much they've struggled for outfield in recent years. they kind of flipped it this year with Quan and Gonzalez. They kind of set on the corners for next year. And then Straw in center field, at least his defense is there. His bat's been atrocious this year, but they have a true center fielder. I'm pretty impressed that Cleveland finally figured out their outfield. But what do you think of Oscar Gonzalez? Is he somebody that intrigues you?
He's got such weird plate skills.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's one of the weirder things I've seen in a long time. So Oscar Gonzalez has just about a league average zone contact. Good, right?
Yeah.
For a power hitter, I'll take that all day long.
Do
you know what his O swing is in the second half?
Oh, not in the second half, but I'm aware of what it is on the season.
It's like almost 50%. It is 50% in the second half.
So again, O swing, just for people, swing outside of the zone. It's your chase rate. 50% is bananas.
Yeah. So like he has no idea of what the strike zone is supposed to be. He's up there. He's like, I see ball, I swing at ball.
Yep.
I make contact with ball, home run ball. Ball go far. 15% swinging strike rate. He's gonna have a 30+% strikeout rate. Probably more. Like it's actually surprising that his swinging strike rate is only 15%, considering he's swinging at stuff outside his zone 50% of the time. I don't want this. I don't. This has all the rest. Like, I don't even need to look at the rest of like his like actual surface stats because I don't want to be tricked into thinking this is any way sustainable.
It's so crazy.
Just no.
You know, should you get fined if you're a pitcher and you throw a pitch to him in the zone? Should you be fined?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Come on, don't throw Oscar Gonzalez anything in the zone. It's crazy that he only has a 21% strikeout rate with a 50% low swing. That's bananas.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Oscar Gonzalez. Like maybe a DC super late, but if this raises his price to anything like in the top 300, I can't do it for Oscar Gonzalez. Let's talk Lars Nootbaar. They've done it again, Justin, and now they're doing it and giving these guys cool names. It's one thing when Alan Craig just comes out of nowhere and does well, or Tommy Edman, but now you got a guy named Lars Nootbaar. You ran out of standard issue names. You're going unique now. You're going special with the Devil Magic. Frankly, I'm impressed because they found somebody named Lars Nootbaar and they turned him into a beast. The Devil Magic strikes again, at least in the second half here. He's been wonderful. 235 average, not going to really set you off all that much, but 372 OBP, 477 slug, walking more than he strikes out and walking at an 18% clip, striking out at a 17% clip, 8 homers, 3 steals. So not much for batting average, but everything else is there. You love Lars Nootbaar in an OBP league, but talk about 5x5 standard with the batting average. Is there enough there to take him, even though the batting average comes in pretty light for Lars?
Here's the thing. He has made such a drastic change in his approach and he kind of what he's trying to do up at the plate. He's gone from being a guy who was kind of swinging wildly, swinging outside the zone, not making any contact in the first half, to a guy who is like doing the exact opposite here in the second half. And let me give you some numbers for context, right?
Okay.
So the league average zone contact rate is about 84%. In the first half, Lars Nootbaar has 76.7 zone contact, way below average.
Yeah, brutal.
Second half, 86%. He was swinging outside the zone 27% of the time in the first half. He's now swinging outside the zone 23%. His swing and strike rate was 12.6% in the first half. It is now 7.6 in the second half. Like
that's a colossal improvement.
Mm-hmm. And while doing this, he hasn't really given up a ton in terms of power, right? Like his max exit velocity is actually higher in the second half. He's raised his launch angle. He's doubled his barrel rate in this time. Like he has done everything. You know, his hard hit rate is up 8.5% in the second half from the first half. Everything he is doing is really impressive. Shout out to our boy Eno, who's been a Newt Boy fan for Newt Boy fan. I'm gonna say Newt Boy fan. I like Newt Boy.
I like
that. That was a mistake, but I like that.
That's a good mistake. Eno's a Newt Boy.
Yeah, he has been a Newt Boy fan for a long time. I came on board as he was starting to make these changes. We've talked about him a few times here on the pod here in the second half, but I am all on board for this. These are improvements based on substantial changes in Newt Barr's profile and approach. I absolutely believe this. He is the guy I am most interested in drafting off of this list next year. And that's saying something because I like Jose Miranda a lot.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, like I don't think Newt Barr's price is going to be off the charts because of that composite batting average. He's sitting at 222 for the season. A lot of people are going to see that and just pass. Other people will investigate further and see the goodness underneath that. But I'm with you. I think Newt Barr is somebody worth drafting, and I don't think he's going to be particularly expensive. He was holding that one spot for a while. That has since changed. He's now back toward the bottom third of the lineup. But if the Cards commit to playing him, I think that's going to be really interesting. That's the question, though. So with Newt Barr, Tyler O'Neill, and Dylan Carlson there, is that the three now that they've traded Bader? Does that clear the path for Newt Barr permanently?
I think so.
Or at least to give him a shot, not necessarily permanently if he flops, but at least give him the opening day shot next year and see where he's at.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think if they are going to bring someone else in, it's probably for Carlson at this point. Carlson's been bad. Like
Carlson's been really rough, and I got to give you the hat tip because you were not a Carlson guy, and definitely this year that's a huge green check on your end there because he's been brutal. He's on the IL right now. Like about a league average season from an OPS plus standpoint, but 240, 316, 386 slug, dude. 8 homers, 5 steals in his 431 plate appearances. I'm a huge DC guy. I'm not quitting him because he's 24, but I've been thoroughly unimpressed this year with my boy DC. So I feel you, like if anybody should be looking over their shoulder, it might be DC. And I know people are going to be like, yeah, but they wouldn't trade him for Soto Ball. That's not what it was. That was such a stupid bastardization of what was happening with the Cardinals. I don't think they said, give us Carlson and then it's done. And they're like, no. It was, they didn't want to give everybody together, and Carlson was like the last name thrown in there. But it was, I said this before, I hated that he had to wear the Soto trade, basically. Fans were just crapping all over him. First off, like he has any power. Like he could say,
like that was his choice.
That's the thing that I don't get. Like you're taking it on him. He has nothing to do there. But anyway, it's because I'm a fanboy of DC, so I don't want to. I'm a Newt boy for DC, so I'm caping for him. But I really do like Newt, and I do think he's going to get a real shot next year. Based on what he's shown this year with the Devil Magic. So
would a Newt boy for Carlson be a Carl Stan?
Yes. I'm a Dylan Carl Stan.
There you go.
We need one for Tyler O'Neill then too, because he's got his fanboys. And I got to be honest, I'll buy back in next year now that the price will tank.
Yeah.
I'll never buy high on that profile. He's another Carlos Gomez type, by the way. I'll never buy high on that profile, but I think Tyler O'Neill will drop his price enough this year that I'll jump back in. But do we have a name for that, for Tyler O'Neill?
No, you have to be good enough. No.
Last year he had a name, but then not this year. If you guys can think of one with Dylan Carl Stan and a Newt boy, we need one for Tyler O'Neill for all the Cardinals outfielders. But let's run to the opposite end of the age spectrum here for our last guy. I can't believe this guy's on this list. This is not a meme though, Justin. Elvis Andrus has been amazing. Not just like good for Andrus or any sort of qualifiers like that. He's been flat out good, particularly since joining the White Sox, but just in the second half overall. 299, 341, 500, which is good for a 142 WRC plus, 8 homers, 5 steals in 185 plate appearances. WTF, Justin, like what's going on with Elvis freaking Andrus? He's been incredible.
I mean, I think this just goes back to what we said about Stephen Kwan, which is Elvis Andrus is just a good hitter.
Homie can hit.
Just a 91% zone contact rate, sub 10% swing strike rate for Andrus. Like he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing, which is get on base. Like I'm gonna hit myself on board, and then I'm gonna let people drive me in. Now we've had a surprising 6 home runs since he came to Chicago.
That's the part that I'm like, I got no answers for that one.
I guess, I mean, you get out of Oakland. And, you get out of Oakland, everything seems small.
True.
So maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to drive. And like, as much as like we talk about like the division is a good place to pitch. It's also a good place to hit. Like there are some really bad pitchers in that division.
Exactly. The parks, there's a few decent parks, but I thought you were going to bring up the parks, but no, you're right. The pitching, like outside of Brady Singer, you love facing KC, you love facing Detroit.
Even though we like a lot of those Minnesota pitchers, they all have homer problems. Like,
exactly. Like even the good ones have homer problems, and then some of them are just flat out mediocre as well. So you're right. Touring that division is not particularly scary. Cleveland is the only one that really sends up somebody damn near every day that can get you. But Elvis Andrus has been unreal. I'm going to ask the question, even though I don't feel like I necessarily should. He'll be 34 next year. Would you take him in like a DC?
Yeah. If he's playing every day, it depends on where he lands. But like,
well, let's say you start in DC in November and you don't know though.
I'll take a shot late
because he's going to be
45th round. Why not?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that this run is going to raise Elvis Andrus' price to any sort of.
He might be the everyday shortstop in Colorado. Like there's going to be
something like
there
that.
Will be a team that goes, we're not competing this year. We just want a guy that can play every day, and maybe we can flip at the deadline. And that's Elvis Andrus. So like, yeah, I mean, a team like I don't know, like Colorado is a really good example. I'm trying to think of if for some reason Brandon Crawford retired, like the Giants could go that route, like
a team like that. Yep. I mean, I listen. Coming into the year, Alcides Escobar was a starting shortstop, and I don't think he did anything to necessarily earn that. Elvis Andrus has, track record for days. I mean, he's been around for a whole ass minute. 2009, still only 34, which is older, but it's not ancient yet, and he's showing that he can still hang. He's putting up a 3-WAR season this year. It's pretty cool, man. I've always liked Elvis Andrus. I can't say I've been in on this at all. I don't have him anywhere, but I'm glad he's doing it. It's been really cool. By the way, the composite for the season is 14 homers, 10 steals. He probably more, I would say he's more of like a 25 to 30 round type of guy in DC, but I'm still open to that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, especially because his defense has still been good. Like there hasn't been like a reason for a team, especially like the White Sox who really needed him to not play him. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in Chicago and he just plays like a super utility role.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Because they have to be so happy with what Elvis Andrus is doing, and if they make the playoffs and he has some key moments for them in the playoffs too, that would endear him to coming back toward the to the White Sox as well. So those are our guys that were second half breakthroughs, and it's a mixed bag there, right? We had a lot of negativity out front. At least we ended on some higher notes where we were in on those. But hey, we can't just like all of them blindly. I think you brought up some great caution points on McCarthy specifically, and looking at maybe like why you shouldn't necessarily just look at strikeout rate with an Oscar Gonzalez. Like that's a great. It's a one-off. It's an outlier, but he's a great reason why you can't just look at K rate and say, hey, he doesn't strike out that much, because the underlying says he could be striking out 33% in no time. So great show. Enjoyed talking about all these players. Who's your favorite of the bunch? Was it Miranda, you said? Based on perceived costs, we don't know for sure, but based on what you think the costs will be, who's your favorite to buy next year?
I mean, I love Miranda, but I think Lars Nootbaar. I think Lars Nootbaar is
your new boy.
I'm a new boy. I think he is going to be cheaper than Miranda, and I think he's also got just unbelievable upside. Like I think that there is like Miranda's kind of a high floor, low ceiling kind of guy that I want to target. Nootbaar is one of those guys I want. He could be next year's Cedric Mullins. Like I don't know that he's got the speed necessarily for that. But I mean, he just could like have such a huge impact at the top of that Cardinals lineup. I know he's not hitting there right now, so I definitely want to see what they do down the stretch in terms of.
I don't think Brendan Donovan necessarily is pushing him out of it completely, though.
And I don't understand why they moved him out of it. Like
I don't either. 75th percentile sprint speed for Newt Boy, so that is. Some
I know he's got some. I just don't know. But like again, guys who maybe don't run as often just because that's a choice may start to choose to do that next year with the bigger bases and pitchers not being
exactly.
Able to step off.
And raw sprint speed is not the only indicator that you can steal bases. In fact, I shouldn't even just use that as the shorthand there. It's helpful, and the more speed you have, the more margin for error you have on the bases. But you can be a 40th percentile speed guy and get 20 steals. It's the smarts outweigh the raw speed without a doubt. And so, yeah, I really think Newbar is going to be somebody that he is going to be on a lot of sleeper lists. There's going to be a lot of intrigue, but it still won't raise his price. I think he'll be an actual sleeper because the composite numbers will still hold him back with that 222 batting average. So, all right. Are you going to be talking to Jason this weekend?
I'm not. Jason he is turning 50.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
So he's going to take the week off. I may try to get someone in, but I haven't thought that far ahead yet. So.
Well, if not, we'll be back next week. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend, Justin. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.